I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
The
More.
You
No.
Podcast.
Today I want to talk about aspects of jealousy, envy, and self-esteem as discussed in Judith Orloff's book, Emotional Freedom. We all possess the tendencies of jealousy and envy, but it's so important to understand that even in the littlest bit, they can work against you. So with this being said, it's important to identify the levels of jealousy and envy you have in your life, who you're jealous and envious towards, and then work to build self-esteem, understanding that it's what overcomes jealousy and envy. So I want to go through a jealousy and envy quiz that Judith provides, go through some emotional action steps to bolster self-esteem and optimize your biology, explain the spiritual backbone of self-esteem, explain how spirituality can boost your self-esteem, how to release jealousy and envy, and finally how to take your eyes off other people and affirm your self-esteem. All of this will allow you to better cope with jealousy and envy in your life and get rid of it in your life, as well as enhance the level of self-esteem in your life. And all of this will assist in being able to craft a life of significance. So I'm now going to go through Judith's jealousy and envy quiz. It's a series of 9 questions to ask yourself. The first is, do I sometimes get satisfaction from putting other people down? Number 2 is, would I feel relieved if something didn't go a colleague's way even though I like him or her? After that, number 3 is, do I often think that others are better off than me? Then number 4 is, do I resent people who seem to have everything? From there, 5 is, do I feel diminished by someone's beauty, brains, or accomplishments? Number 6 is, am I afraid of people trying to outdo me? Next, number 7 is, am I afraid of my mate's past? Then number 8 is, am I bent out of shape when my mate looks at someone else? And finally, number 9 is, do I see my mate's friends as rivals for my attention or affection? And now I want to explain how to score this quiz. Answering yes to 6 or more of these questions indicates a significant amount of jealousy or envy. 3 to 5 yeses indicates a moderate amount. 1 or 2 yeses indicates a small amount. And 0 yeses shows that you have very little jealousy or envy. And now that I've gone through this quiz, I want to go through some emotional action steps for bolstering self-esteem and optimizing your biology. Number 1 is to review this self-esteem checklist. It's a series of 6 things, with the first being you generally have a positive attitude. The second is you value yourself highly. The third is you're comfortable asserting your emotional needs. Number 4 is you see yourself as competent and in control of your life. Number 5 is you take people's opinion of you in stride. And finally, number 6 is you aren't threatened by others' successes. Then step number 2 is to focus on one area of self-esteem to strengthen. Identify one issue in the checklist that needs a boost. Then pursue improvement for a week. From here I want to break down the spiritual backbone of self-esteem. There is a symbiotic relationship between spirituality and self-esteem, but it requires awareness to understand. By having a spiritual approach on self-esteem, it will assure you don't get arrogant, and it will foster an evergreen sense of worth and dignity. It's done by doing 2 things, the first being practicing radical humility instead of egotism, and the second being not comparing yourself to others. With the first principle being practicing humility, I want to explain what humility is. It's having awe for being a speck in an infinite universe rather than seeing yourself as the center of it. It's realizing we're all on an equal ground and no one is on a pedestal. It's seeing spirit in everyone you meet, even those you don't like. It's knowing your gifts and not flaunting them, and also knowing your limitations. It's being able to laugh at yourself. It's trying your best to surmount self-doubts. And finally, it's a consistent practice of being simple and valuing simple things. From here, the second principle, thou shalt not compare, is pretty self-explanatory. It's just really important to understand that in a spiritual sense, comparing your path to another's is comparing apples to oranges. Everyone's different and everybody's path is different. And now that I've gone through these 2 principles, I want to go through some emotional action steps for letting your spirituality boost your self-esteem. The first step is to choose a person you feel jealousy or envy towards. It could be somebody at work, school, or even a relative. From here, step number 2 is to behave differently. Practice dealing with the jealousy and envy by mindfully using humility and avoiding comparison, even if the person irritates you. And finally, step number 3 is to praise yourself. You should take a moment to praise yourself and gain self-esteem from your efforts to deal with these emotions positively. Showing humility and avoiding comparison binds you to growing goodness within and without yourself. By doing this, it will foster a loving posture in your relationships rather than a defensive one. From here, I now want to go through some emotional action steps to release jealousy and envy in your life. Phase 1 is to debrief your feelings. Share these feelings with someone safe, and let it all out with them. From here, phase 2 is to practice these energy transforming strategies. The first is to root for a rival's happiness. The second is to give to others what you most desire for yourself. And finally, number 3 is to see people as teachers. And now that we've gone through these emotional action steps for releasing jealousy and envy in your life, I lastly want to go through some emotional action steps to take your eyes off other people and affirm your own self-esteem. Instead of feeling envy and jealousy, by trying these techniques you'll affirm your own self-esteem. The first is to journal about your feelings. Identify the object of your negative emotions, meaning find out what ultimately is bothering you. Then frankly admit what insecurity got you stirred up. And finally, look further. From here, technique number 2 is to substitute negative messages with positive affirmations. Observe your insecurities, and then reel them in by replacing them with affirmations. And finally, technique number 3 is to seek professional guidance. Working with a psychotherapist can provide immense value. No matter who you are, you face jealousy and envy in your life to some extent. And jealousy and envy can highly hinder your pursuits, ruin your relationships, and do a lot of other negative things. With this being said, you must instill self-esteem within yourself to combat the jealousy and envy. By doing so, it will no doubt assist in crafting a life of significance.
I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
The
More
You
No
Podcast.